Now, before we go to the next problem, let's take a look at the definition of angle of depression and angle of elevation. So, if you look at a point above you, such as the top of a building, the angle that your line of sight makes with a line parallel to the ground is called the angle of elevation. At the top of the building, the angle between a line parallel to the ground and your line of sight is called the angle of depression. These two angles have the same measure. Okay, so for angle of depression and angle of elevation, you will be the reference point. Okay, so you or your line of sight will be the reference point. So if you are standing at the bottom or below, okay, and you are looking up, let's say for example you have your building, okay, so if you are looking upwards, okay, so the angle you form in here will be the angle of elevation because you're looking up. So that is your keyword, up. So you're looking upwards. Now let's do the opposite. Now if you are looking down, say for example you are on top of the building, okay, so you are on top of the building and let's say you're looking downwards, okay, so the angle now you form over here will be the angle of depression, okay, but remember, angle of depression is always equal to the measurement of the angle of elevation. They will always have the same measurements. Okay, so moving on. So using an angle of elevation, a parasailer is attached to a boat with a rope 72 feet long. The angle of elevation from the boat to the parasailer is 28 degrees. Estimate the parasailer's height above the boat. So this is the problem. So we have there the parasailer. This is the boat. Okay, this is the boat. So we're talking about here angle of elevation. Okay, because you are looking upwards because the boat is your reference point. Okay, so to this problem, we will be following again simple steps. First step is to draw a diagram. Okay, we need to draw a diagram. So the diagram will look like that. This will be your boat. Okay, that will be your boat. That's your boat. And this is the parasailer. That's your parasailer there, over there. Okay, because we're talking about elevation, and that's your angle of elevation, which is 28 degrees. So that's how to draw a diagram. Now, I always suggest that whenever we have this kind of problem, you always draw your own diagram so you won't be confused. Okay, so you will see the given and you will see, and you can actually identify, you can easily see the givens and what you're missing, what's your problem. Step two will be identify the given theta, which is our reference point, which is 28 degrees. And then the distance between the parasailer and the boat is actually your hypotenuse. And we are solving for the h here, which is the height. So now using our reference angle now, that's your hypotenuse. Let's try to identify now what is h. Is it the opposite or adjacent? So this is your reference angle. Look at that. It's in front of it. So the side we are solving, which is the height, is in front of your reference angle. So meaning that is your opposite side. So we have hypotenuse and opposite. So we will be choosing now which trigonometric ratio to choose or to use to solve this problem. So these are your three basic trigonometric ratios: sine, cosine, and tangent. So for sine, you have their opposite and hypotenuse. So there, that's what we need. For cosine, you need the adjacent and the hypotenuse, so we cannot use that. For tangent, you need the opposite and your adjacent, and remember that your adjacent, so we cannot use that. So we will be using sine, okay? So we will be going now to step 4, which is plug in then solve. So that's our trigonometric ratio that we'll be using. So plug in. Our theta is 28 degrees. That's your reference angle. Your opposite is your h, which is the problem, which is the height. And then over your hypotenuse, which is 72 feet. So from there, express both sides as ratio. So just place over 1 to the left side. Now we do cross product. So we'll do sine 28 degrees times 72. H times 1 is H. Now to get the value of that, just plug that in your calculator, in your graphing calculator or Desmos or in your scientific calculator, and you should get a value of 33.8. So meaning the height now of the parasailer above the boat is about 33.8